Cool.
Guys, thank you so much for just being on my podcast. I like I like having you guys here. And before we get started, I am slobberingly grateful for every guest I have. So we have something we call the over the top intro. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right, let's
Sure.
get started.
Sure.
My next guest is known for her work in Red Rhino, King Chess, and Alchemy of Souls. She's a director, writer, producer, and on this Zoom screen, right to her right, I should say, is an award-winning filmmaker, a chess journalist, and top coach that has been teaching students for over 20 years, playing chess, and over 25 years teaching. Oh, I said that backwards. She has been a contributor for ESPN, American Chess Magazine, U.S. Chess through Chess Life Online. She also wrote, produced the film, and what we are here to talk about today, King Chess on major platforms, on demand, near you. All of that by being fueled by the sweet nectar of God's gift of root beer. Summer, Gloria, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks
Hey.
for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Guys, this is awesome. I want to say something before we even get started, before I even get my first questions out. You guys made chess come alive. I do these interviews and I'm like, okay, strap in. You're about to sit down and watch 90 some odd minutes of chess.
Yeah,
Please load up the caffeine right now. But I didn't
right.
need it. I'm glad I had it. I don't know if you can tell. I'm still on it. But um after watching this, I get it. The competitiveness, you guys were enthusiastic about it. How did this idea come to life?
We've
Well,
heard things.
yeah, I mean, Dylan
Yeah,
wanted to go to Berlin and
that's
cover the
right.
candidates. And I was like, well, you're not going to go to Berlin without me. So how do we make this a work trip? And I was like, we should shoot a documentary.
She never lets me travel without her. Like ex everywhere I go, she's like, "I'm coming with." Yeah, the other angle is that I'm a big old chess nerd, right? You read my CV. I've done everything in the chess world except for, become a grandmaster.
Was it
And
happening, by the
I
way?
probably never, but
All right.
that's super hard. That's super hard. But I'm a candidate master and I've been teaching kids forever, like you read. And so like I just was hyped on this event that had like the best players in the world. And we had top American players that are gonna go that actually had a shot. Because it's not always guaranteed that American players will have a shot. So I knew it was gonna be exciting and I was getting paid to write a few articles. So I said, well, Gloria said, why don't we make this film? And I said, well, that's a crazy idea. Let's do it.
Well, Summer, you my next question is more for Gloria than you because you kind of explained it. Where it says, what made you want to be a part of this project? I get it, Summer. You're a chess nerd. You have done everything except be a grandmaster, which is coming in 2027, by the way. Um, and with that said, Gloria, what made you want to be a part of this project outside of travel?
Right. I think I actually think sort of as like this just going into my nerdiness as a filmmaker. I like character and I like story, right? And chess has this sort of there is like a sports vibe to it in a way. There's like the competition, like both mental and physical, and this idea of like what does it take to become the best in the world at something? And so that's my sort of like filmmaker documentarian brain that's like I'm just interested in interesting people and interesting things.
Yeah.
And I felt like with Summer we had a host who could guide us through this pretty stodgy and can be very like insular world. And so the combination of those two, I felt like this could be a really interesting project. And the whole point was to make something I would want to watch I mean, as a professed non-chess player, to be honest.
Hey,
I
join the
don't
club.
I don't play. It's not my game of choice. However, I think anybody who's like devoted their life to something and has gotten very good at it or is fascinating. And, you know, people are people, and I think people are really interesting. And of
Yeah,
course,
and to add
Summer's
on there,
enthusiasm for what was about to happen, I was like, well, I have this skill set, you have that skill set. Let's see what we can do with it.
yeah, I don't
So,
want to add on with the enthusiasm. I'm a really big fan of high performing sports. I see you're wearing your Detroit hat.
Oh
I'm a
yeah.
Diamondbacks fan. I'm a big fan of baseball, and I was a swimmer in high school. And I just love the high performance at the very, very top. And we're just inspired by the fact that these players are some of the very best that's ever lived. We're not just talking like we're not just talking like, top 10. Every single there's at least four or five of them are that are one, two, three, four, five, six, seven in all of chess history. They have the highest ratings, the highest everything. So, and this event like blew that out of the water. They overperformed, and honestly, it's like peak chess.
Okay.
It got to peak chess.
Well, adding on to that, is that what made the 2018 tournament so special?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. It's just the fact that they were so high rated and you got all the very best of the best. One of our big things that we were pitching with the film was that you had this young generation versus this old guard because they had Kramnik, the guy who defeated Gary Kasparov, like the monster killer. He came back, he was the wild card. And then you had like four really strong young players that are still really competitive now and they're no longer young anymore,
Mm.
right? Like there's another guard coming in, but at the time it was like this crazy clash of old versus new, and yeah, and just some of the most exciting players, the most fun players.
One of the coolest parts about this movie is not just the old versus new at the time, but this is more of a everyone had a legitimate right to win this tournament. Everyone had their
Mhm.
original story, and you can't wait because I mean, with I guess a cast that big, everyone had motive. It just as a storyteller. Everyone had a
Yeah.
legitimate shot. How was it important to highlight some aspects over other aspects of different players as they,
Mm.
went through the tournament? I'm trying to say it without spoiling some of my favorite parts.
right, right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think what and you know, what is it? Hitchcock says it's just a bunch of happy accidents is how you end up with a movie. I think
Yeah.
what's really nice about the structure of this movie is it's because there's a built-in structure, right? There's a tournament happening. And so within that tournament there will always be drama, right? And so to answer your question, the goal was to kind of really like each round as a filmmaker for myself is to like check in with each character. And it was sort of like some people would have more boring rounds, so we didn't have to highlight them quite so much. But every round, somebody was doing something interesting. And so, or like they were in a specific spot in their sort of storyline. And again, these are real people, right? But like there's a reason why we have story and and stories play out the way that they do. So it was a lot of really like really trying to pay attention to the like their emotional life at that point and where they were in the process, and then also like happy accidents like what we ended up getting on film and things like that, and or having Summer sort of describing like, okay, what would this player be thinking, since we didn't actually get their specific thoughts, or like they didn't clearly define like where they were in the program and that kind of stuff. And so I hope that answered your question. I think it
Yeah. No,
No,
did.
it
I'll add
makes
on
sense.
that. The
Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead,
Gloria
go
was
ahead.
Gloria was prescient in having me break down every single round because otherwise we would just had a bunch of footage of a bunch of players playing chess, which wouldn't make a movie. And so like that added some extra story to it and filled out the story that was already there. It's just really hard to get it from the players directly. But then she also pushed me to like really pull stuff out of them and ask them strange and interesting questions that you normally wouldn't ask. Because most of the time they're asking these players like, why did you play King B6? Oh, that move is so okay. And then if you hear them just rambling on about a bunch of moves, you can't even see the board. It's like, okay, that's so boring. But then I'd
It's like
ask them
listening to
like,
a foreign language.
Yeah,
in my
that's what I was
my favorite,
expecting, I should say.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's just like so many beautiful moments where I asked them a question they didn't expect, and their eyes would be like the player Grishuk. When I asked him about his kids, he was like, "Oh, why are you talking about my kids?" Like, he's like, "I don't even want them to play chess. It doesn't spoil much, but right, like,
Yeah, but like take a guy like Vladimir Kramnik,
yeah,
who's there for one more run. This is it.
yeah, yeah. This is his
And
last shot,
you take a guy like Magnus Carlsen, who I
right?
flipped on. It went from this unbeatable chess dynamo, and then somewhere in the middle of the film, nah, you need to lose. My
Yeah,
brain is like, nah, you need to lose, man. You need to lose.
yeah,
Like I'm not spoiling too much, but it's like when you
yeah,
start hearing the stories and they start kind of meshing with each other, you start picking your brain starts picking their favorites. And it's just
right,
sort of
Hmm.
like, I want to see this story play out over this story because this person's young, this person's gonna have another chance. And then you look at then you look at it like, I don't know if they're gonna have another chance. Hold on, maybe you and your brain is doing this like
yeah,
tug of war based on the stories you guys told.
Well, yeah, you
Like,
can't help but root for them or feel bad for them when things aren't going well, or like just being like, oh my God, they're so close, and we
yeah.
had that same feeling while we were there in process, as we were kind of like
Right. And I
exhaustedly
want to
trying to
say
run
that
around this giant venue.
Gloria fantastically pulled that out. Like in post. This is all post work. She's pulling out those little tiny nuggets in a mountain of footage. 100 hours of footage, right? We have an incredible mountain of footage, but Gloria really pulled out those little tiny tidbits that make it so exciting.
one thing I love asking filmmakers about because granted, you said 100 hours and this was a little over 90 minutes.
Yeah.
93 minutes, yeah.
What was left on the cutting room floor that you wish you could have expanded upon?
Oh, that's such a hard question. Wow, that's a good question though.
I
Would Gloria
mean,
have
for
something? Yeah.
me, I don't know that honestly, I don't have much that I would have wanted to expand on. I think I got the movie that I wanted. I would say for the chess the like avid chess player, I do get the sense that there is a I think they're itching to get more into the games
Hmm.
themselves, a little bit more analysis, a little bit more of that kind of stuff. And so I do think that there might have been a world in which we could have maybe highlighted some of that stuff a bit more, but within the footage itself, I'm just not sure that that was even there
Hmm.
in a way that made sense for the film that we made, right? But I don't know, maybe someone can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, no, the chess fans sometimes are annoyed that there's no games, but I think it's a mix. A lot of chess fans are really loving it, and I think most of them love it, but they're just like, I want to see some games because they're just big nerds. They can't go without a game. They gotta be like, okay, I have to have a game. I can't see the moves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe there's just so many beautiful moments, honestly, that Sam like lifetime achievement moments where I'm just with my heroes, my some of these people that are just like gods and goddesses. Judith Polgar, she's the highest rated woman ever. I would have loved to have more of her interview in. We did an hour long with Kramnik. And it would be really amazing to see his psychology now because he's kind of gone off the rails and is accusing everybody of cheating now. So there's like all this scandal around Kramnik. Like I thought of publishing that full interviews at some point. We don't really want to spend more money on the film, but maybe just putting it out and just self-editing it. Yeah, there's a lot of nice little moments like that we just didn't have. There's no room for them in the film.
Okay, well, you had a awesome festival run,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
was from what I've read and from what I've experienced myself. Everyone who watched this movie had beautiful things to say about it, but they didn't exactly know what they were seeing when they first
yeah.
walked in. So, with that said, do you love it? This quote unquote surprise element to the world of chess, or is it just sort of like, maybe we should have dumbed it down, maybe we should have did this, or how did you feel about that?
I mean, I feel I no, I mean, I like the fact that people are I do think, yeah, it's hard to be like, no, 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 you're gonna like this movie, I swear. I swear. Just bear with it. Yes, it is about chess, but you'll like it. You'll like it.
You liked
Yeah, there
Queen's
is an
Gambit.
element of
Queen's
that.
Gambit was amazing. Like you love that. You love Queen's Gambit, and come watch this. It's fine. You'll love
Yeah.
it.
And
I mean, I
but
think that yeah, yeah, it's tough. I don't know. It's funny because it's sort of like I don't actually think it's that tough of a sell. I think it's interesting enough to people. It's just there is like so for example, like spelling bee, right? Like that was a great documentary, but you're like kids doing a spelling bee, how is that going to be interesting? And it's sort of like in the same way that like you grow to love these characters, like you said, everybody kind of gets to picks their favorites, like who they're kind of wanting to win and see go on to the next bit. But yeah, I think I like the idea that people are pleasantly surprised. And what I really like is that in the same way, my goal was to make a movie I wanted to watch. It seems like a movie that like a lot of people enjoy, even if they don't play
Yeah.
chess.
And I'm
Yeah.
really proud of our post team. Like they created something absolutely amazing. Maybe Gloria's better with all the names because I love them all, but my brain is foggy. But they our sound guy was amazing. Our composer was amazing. It's all original music in the film. Like
Yeah.
the
no, I
Yeah,
sound
feel
John
it gave that big
Schaefer did a
fight
great
feel
job.
that
Hmm.
like the music. I wanted to touch on that too because it gave that this is important feel
Hmm.
throughout this
Hmm.
entire film.
Yeah, I mean, that was important to me when John came on to the project. I was like, I know I want a beat. It has to be driving, and it can be a light, but it can like in certain moments, and it can be heavy in others, but like it has to have a heartbeat almost like in the way that, because that's really at the end of the day when you sit down at the board, right, and you're stressed out and you're doing whatever you're doing, your heart starts to race. Well, I think that that's what the audience needs to experience, and I am very sensitive to music in general when like it's almost hard for me to listen to all the time because it's like I find it to be very it really informs the way I feel.
I
And so
understand.
therefore I was very cognizant of like making sure that the music was telling that story as well. And because sometimes, with their facial expressions or even what they say, you you don't even get the full, like you're not quite getting the full experience. So I think having that underneath without being too heavy-handed, and I think that was the thing that John was able to do very well, was like get us in this space of like, okay, we're going on this journey here. Let's see what's going on. Yeah. He did
Okay.
great. He and Cristobal did great.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
Now, Summer, if you don't mind, I need to make this just a tad bit nerdy. So I need you to put on your Coach Q hat for a second, because I got two
Not hard.
questions for
Yeah, my
Coach
Coach
Q.
Q hat is always like slightly to the side.
All
So,
right. Well, what is the best piece of advice that you would give your students that more chess players could benefit from?
oh, don't be afraid to lose. Like you got to get in there and fight every single game. But if you're afraid to lose and you're afraid to even get in the game, then you've kind of lost before the game has begun. So get in there and try your hardest. And if you're losing games, just take a step back, look at the games, make sure you analyze them, figure it out with your own brain before you ask the Silicon Monster. The engines are so strong right now, and it could be easy to just leave them on. Turn that off, think with your own brain, and fight every single game like it's the World Championship. And you're going to win a lot of games that way, and you'll lose a lot of games too. I've lost like 10,000 games online and won about 10 to 12,000 games online. So it takes a lot to get to a higher level.
Okay. All right. Now, you kind of touched on this a little bit when we talked about Queen's Gambit, but starting macro and let's work micro. What are some of the biggest trends that you're seeing now in the chess industry?
Oh yeah. I mean this is huge actually. The chess industry has exploded. I was talking to my good friend. I went to this amazing tournament in Spain last year, and I met this international master, David Pruess. He's at the chess dojo, great guys, three guys, amazing people. And we were talking about the chess economy, how it used to be just airlines and hotels.
Okay.
Like those were the only major parts of the chess economy, and then of course, like the top 10 players were making some money. But now the chess economy has exploded. There are so many jobs and positions that you can actually do to make a living in the chess world. It's just kind of mind-boggling. And I've rode this wave of like coaching and journalism and now filmmaking, and it's incredible. Like I never would have expected this to be able to take this passion and make it a real career. And now there's commentators, there's streamers, there's coaches, there's big clubs that you can work at. There's, everything that comes with that, big event planners and things like that. So, administrative positions, like there's everything you can think of that takes to make a real sport run.
Well, good people, I know we're up against it. I'm looking at the clock. I got two more questions. And one, I have to ask, just as filmmakers, what do you want the audience to take from this film?
Great question.
I try.
I just want the audience to walk away feeling like they have a better sense of like what high level chess looks like. I
Yeah.
mean, to be in that world and to be sort of around people who care about this thing passionately. And
Yeah.
I think that we achieved that. That was my
Yeah,
goal.
I think in King Chess we put you in the hot seat so you can feel what it's like to be playing a match, a tournament like this, 14 grueling rounds over a 17-day period. That's a line from the film. But like it's real. It's incredible the amount of energy and dedication you have to be that good at anything, really. And in chess, it's just so much more, right? They say 10,000 hours to master anything, but like chess is probably 30,000 for I don't even know how many hours. It's like you have to be dedicating every moment of your life to actually being that good. And these players have prepped for months. So the feeling of that is what we want everyone to take away. If you feel that in the film, then we did our job.
Okay. This is a little bit more obligatory, but I do have to ask, what's next on the horizon?
Yeah, we're excited about this. Do you want to introduce people on the
Um,
board?
yeah, we have a tentatively called Beyond the Board. We're looking at doing a chess travel show, sort of
Chess
the
around the world.
yeah, the intersection of chess and culture. A little bit
Yeah.
like an Anthony Bourdain style
Okay.
parts unknown like that sort of that the show he did on CNN where he we really just want to try to find those like weird little chess pockets and like you know you saw a little bit of it in the film with the chess boxing. I mean, that stuff is wild, and there's all sorts of things like that all over the world. And the thing is, chess is way bigger than in the US. Like, it's a little bit like soccer, where like
Yeah.
it's just outside of the US, it's people are crazy for it. And so I think that there is a world in which,
Yeah.
you know, people would be really interested in seeing that.
And
So,
put me in wacky situations.
yes.
Cause I can handle all the
Coach Q,
weirdness.
yeah.
And I'm strange. I'm a strange, fun person. So I get in there, I'm like, hey, what's up? How's everybody doing? We're gonna do this thing, whatever. Okay, and then a couple other projects. I have a film in post. I got a deal after this film, I got a deal to make a new film, United States of Chess, about Grandmaster Abhimanyu Mishra. He is the youngest grandmaster ever for the moment, for the time being.
Okay.
Hopefully, I get the film out before someone breaks his record. And then I also have a podcast called The Chess Lounge. So go check it out. The Chess Lounge. It's on Podbean, but it's on everything, Apple, Spotify. So The Chess Lounge. Just Google that. And yeah, come listen to us. We're talking to people weekly. And then Gloria, don't forget to plug this, has a web series we're gonna shoot and release later this year called
Yeah.
Influence. So non-chess thing for
Yeah,
her.
non-chess.
All right, what is that about? Influences. That sounds interesting.
Influenced, yeah, it's a web series. It's sort of about a down and out influencer whose follower count keeps going up every time she is real online. And
Yeah.
it's so the idea is that these episodes can stand alone, but also kind of tell a little bit of a story here.
Yeah,
Wait
the
a
So
second.
comedic
Wait,
train wreck. Yeah.
wait a second. You're saying that there is a world where influencers on the internet can just tell the truth and their followers go up?
I mean,
Oh,
in
she
our
doesn't do it on
world that we've
purpose.
written.
It's not on purpose. It's the train wreck of her
It's
being
just the more
herself.
she can that she lets the facade fall,
Yeah.
the more people tend to like her. We'll see. We'll see if
Gotta
it
be honest, I
if
may have to talk to you off mic because no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I try to be as
I'm happy
genuine
to
as I
write
can.
you some scenes.
All
How's
right,
that?
I try to be as genuine. Hey, I'm down. I try to be as genuine as possible, but
Sure.
this was a treat. I know we're up against it. This was awesome. The film is awesome. I thank you so much for just giving me a little bit of your time and we could talk about King Chess. I'm going to make sure this goes out, not just on the video side, our audio side, which is funny. I'm also with Podbeam. And
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to push that. You'll see clips on our socials and everything because I want everyone to see this just to kind of get a better understanding. I have not played
Yeah.
chess since the fifth grade, period.
Oh
So
wow.
it's been a
Awesome.
while since the fifth grade, if you can tell.
Oh, you're gonna
So,
reel you back in. Reel you
but
back in.
this was awesome, and I thank you so much for your time.
Oh yeah, one
Yeah,
more
thanks for
plug,
having
Sam.
us.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Can I tell everybody to follow me on Twitter at Coach Q Chess?
Oh,
Coach Q
cool.
Chess.
And I'll
Yeah.
make sure I put that in the notes as well. So Gloria, any socials you want to toss out there too?
I mean, I might be writing a web series about socials, but I am not a participant
Okay.
mostly, which I think, is probably a hindrance to my career, but I
It
do my
doesn't
best.
matter. That's why I'm
Well,
out front.
I will make sure I get all of that stuff out. Guys, it's been a treat. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
just being
Thank
on
you,
my podcast.
Sam.
All right. You guys
Thank you.
have a
Appreciate
Thank
your
great one.
you.
time. Thank you.
All right.
All right,
Yay.
bye.
Thank you, Sam.